everyone. This is Jamie and Flannery coming to you from 605 South.
Hey, this is Flannery. I'll be heading out soon to go to the Black Elks Club to listen to a live performance, so Liliana will be covering for me soon.
Oh, I just finished a book that mentions the Black Elks Club.
Really? What's it called? What's it about?
Well, it's called Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, and it discusses how the difference in cultures between generations can have a great effect on an individual. Henry, the main character, is the son of a Chinese man who immigrated from China to Seattle, Washington. Coming from his traditional Chinese background, his father cannot seem to understand life from the American perspective.
This book sounds interesting. Tell me more.
Well, his father sends Henry to an all-white school and insists that he must speak nothing but the American language, even when his parents could not even comprehend English. Henry felt completely isolated in a world of his own. I think at one point he even says, close to home but a world away, from his parents' world anyway. Still, his father pushed his own views on Henry.
Sounds like they are fighting a battle between cultures.
Once he grows up, Henry and his own son, Marty, also dealt with this barrier between their cultural differences. Due to this, they seem to have conflicting views. They even, and I quote, he and Marty seemed to argue for the sake of arguing, and no one ever won.
Hey, that sounds a lot like the short story I read. Everything that rises must converge. It is about a son and a racist mother. He does not agree with her racist ways, and he makes that clear to her. He keeps pushing her over the edge while they are riding on a bus together. He even sits next to a colored person and attempts conversation just to make her mad. They finally reach their stop and get off the bus. He keeps yelling at her for her racist ways, saying that the old world is gone. The old manners are obsolete and your graciousness is not worth a damn, and comments until she ends up having a stroke on the sidewalk. It is basically the same story as Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet.
I agree, it sounds like the same story.
I also read this story called Sonny's Blues. It is about two brothers and one has been caught up in drugs and music. He feels trapped by his surroundings.
Kinda like how Henry seems to feel trapped by his father's rules.
Seems so. Drugs seem to be the gateway nowadays for this generation of teens who feel trapped. Anyway, the story deals a lot with the culture pertaining to Harlem in the 1950s. For example, the story even states how children were living and their cultural expectations. These boys, now, were living as we'd been living then. They were growing up with a rush and their heads bumped abruptly against the low ceiling of their actual possibilities.
That sounds very interesting.
Well, I'm headed off to Seattle now. See you later.
Would you like to win a pair of tickets to see the Oscar Holden live in concert? Well, today is your lucky day. Be caller number 5 in the next minute and the tickets are yours. We even have included a 2-night hotel stay in the fancy Panama Hotel. Oh, looks like we already have our 5th caller. Hi, what's your name? We hope you enjoy the show.
I'm Rob Hensler, and thank you very much.
Well, that's exciting. Welcome to the show, Liliana. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, but you'll never believe what I just witnessed this past weekend, Jamie.
What was that?
Well, my little girl was invited to a birthday party, and while she seemed to have a lot of fun, I noticed this little girl working for the mother who was hosting the party.
What's so weird about that?
At first, I thought she was just trying to be a helpful little girl. You know, she was being raised right and having manners and everything. But then I noticed she was in charge of handing out the hot dogs and cake and bringing the juice out, and none of the other little girls were doing that, and they weren't very friendly to this little Hispanic girl.
It sounds like a little childhood squabble. Nothing to be worried about, I'm sure.
I don't know. I asked the little Hispanic girl her name, and she just looked and said, "I'm the daughter of the employee." I was so confused. And when her mom came to pick her up, she didn't even get the normal party gift that everybody else got. She got $2 bills for all the hard work that she did.
Oh, geez, that sounds like exploiting the little girl.
What makes me the most upset was the fact with how content the host was with using the little girl. She didn't even think twice about some Hispanic girl who just wanted to have a good time at the party. The look on the little girl's face was terrible. The cultural difference between them absolutely astounded me.
You see that kind of stuff in movies where the Hispanic is always working for the white family, but I never thought in a million years we would still be seeing that today in our society.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Well, we'll take a break from our talk and play an upbeat song.
Easy come, easy go. That's just how you live. Oh, take it all, but you never give. Should've known you was trouble from the first kiss. Had your eyes wide open. Why were they open? Gave you all I had and you tossed it in the trash. You tossed it in the trash. You did. To give me all your love is all I ever ask. 'Cause
All right, folks, we're about to perform our first ever live seance on the radio to see if we can get any sort of response. Oh boy, this is exciting stuff. We will need some complete silence as we get started, but you should all be able to hear what's going on. Oh wait, I hear something. Who are we speaking to?
I'm Henry's father.
Henry's father? Like from the book Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet?
Yes, that's me.
Well, hello, sir. Do you mind if we ask you a couple questions?
Well, I don't have anything else to do.
Perfect. First off, how are you doing?
It's kind of nice being alone and not being around my son.
Sir, why don't you like your son?
He just never listens. He thinks he can be in charge of his own life. The audacity of some people.
Well, to be fair, it is his own life. Besides, you two were born in two totally different time periods with two totally different cultures.
I just wanted my son to live the life I never really got.
Okay. So, I have to ask, what culture did you want your son to live in? With the Chinese finishing school, the Chinese and American buttons, the all-white school, and speaking English at home, you didn't exactly make it a cakewalk for your son to be on what you considered the right path.
What? It's not rocket science. I wanted my son to be a full-on Chinese and embrace his heritage. I also wanted him to be American because we didn't need anyone assuming he was one of those dirty Japs.
So, you wanted him to be fully dedicated to both at once?
Exactly.
Okay. So, one of your most memorable quotes was talking about how the hardest choices in life aren't between what's right and what's wrong, but what's right and what's best, correct?
Yeah.
Well, maybe the best thing for Henry wasn't the right thing for you. Sometimes what's best for you isn't what's best for someone else. Henry tried so hard to make you happy, but couldn't because you were so focused on what's best for you. Does that make sense?
Look, I don't need a lesson in parenting because he turned out just fine.
Henry realized the best thing for him wasn't making you happy anymore and focused on making himself happy. Even though there was the cultural barrier between you two, Henry seemed to have made a lot more effort than you had with understanding where you were coming from.
Yeah, I guess you have a valid point.
Okay, then. We appreciate you talking to us.
Anytime.
Well, there you have it, folks. Our first ever live seance. We hope you tune into our show tomorrow when Flannery brings you to the jazz concert.